Remember, you are growing at your own pace, so celebrate each step forward, no matter how small.
Forgetting the former things, looking straight ahead, holding on to hope, choosing life instead. The power that you hold is in what you believe, so believe for better things. You deserve to be free.
Welcome to Talk More Soon. I'm your host, Brianna Vernon, and today we are talking about how you can overcome people pleasing. But before we get into that, let's take our first sip of the day. I have my Milo here, of course. So go and get your cup of Milo or any tea that you have in the house at this time. And let's take our first sip of the morning. Mm-hmm. That was good. Now, let's begin. So, we'll be speaking about how we can overcome people pleasing, which is an issue a lot of people have. But first thing we need to do is to understand what is people pleasing. A basic definition is that it is the sacrificing of your comfort, your morals, or your boundaries for the sake of someone else or for the intention of satisfying someone else and being in their good graces. All right. And so many of you right now might be thinking, well, I'm a people pleaser then, or I have someone in my life who has been wanting me to sacrifice my peace, morals, boundaries for their sake. Because the truth is, sometimes it is fine to make yourself uncomfortable for the sake of someone else. Be selfless, go the extra mile. We live in a world of over 8 billion people, and the world doesn't revolve around any one of us. So, of course, at times we will have to go the extra mile for someone else, and that is perfectly fine. Now, where the issue comes in is when you are inconveniencing yourself unnecessarily for the sake of someone else and to be in their good graces. And it is never okay to sacrifice your morals, especially, or your boundaries for someone else. While it's fine to be selfless, when it comes to your morals and your boundaries, sacrificing those are no. Because your morals are your way of saying, I understand right from wrong. And these are the things that I know are good, and these are the things that I know are bad. And if someone is requiring or expecting you to throw your knowledge of that out of the way in order to be around them or be in their crew, then you know that's not someone you want to have around you. And then you'll know that that's someone who doesn't value you and wants you to instead move to the beat of their drum. And it's the same way for your boundaries. Your boundaries are your way of telling the world, this is what I will not accept. This is the line for me. Because what might be okay for you might not be okay for me, and what might be okay for me might not be okay for you. And so, if I am going to expect for you to discard your boundaries to please me, then that is me communicating to you that I don't care about what bothers you and I don't care about what makes you tick. And that would be me saying to you that your boundaries have no value. And if I'm going to say to you that your morals and that your boundaries have no value, I'm basically attacking you at your core and saying that you as a person has no value because your morals and what you believe and your boundaries have a lot to do with the core of who you are. No, I'm not saying that some people don't believe some foolishness, but there's a foundational understanding that we all should have as humans, that you have your boundaries and those should be respected. So if someone is going to expect you to do something with them or to say something that explicitly goes against what you believe, and if they're saying to you that if you don't do this, then you can't be accepted, or if they are going to gaslight you and say, if you don't do this, then you don't love me, they're actually the ones who don't care about you. And so we're going to speak as well about the reasons people fall into the trap of people pleasing. Before we do that, I want to give you an example from my own life of how not to fall into that trap, or of how to exercise your right to say no and your right to have boundaries. I remember one time I was overseas on vacation, and someone I know wanted me to bring down an item for them. Jamaicans, you know this so well. Enough time you go overseas and people just are bad at you for bring down things. But anyways, this person wanted me to bring down something for them. And the item that they wanted me to bring, this was before the government had increased the amount for customs to 1,000 US, where you don't have to declare it. At this time, it was about 500 US dollars. And I know that whatever they had wanted me to bring down, not gonna get into the specifics, but the item would have been over and I would have had to declare it at customs, and me never have no time for that. Right? I was on vacation. I believe it was even my birthday as well. Yes, it was. It was my birthday time. And I would now have to, because they said they would have sent me the money to buy it. I would have now had to wait for that money to come, go out and find a store that sells that product. Or if I can't find a store, order it to send to where I was. Make sure I am present there to pick it up, probably. And then back at the airport, have to declare it. It wasn't going to happen. So I said no. And the no meant no. Because I had recognized that that would have placed me at an unnecessary inconvenience, or it would have put me out of my way unreasonably. I'm on my vacation. And even if I wasn't, it was unreasonable. And it's not to say that you cannot bring down something for someone. Every time I go away, I bring down something, especially for my family. But you have to decide what is within your bounds. And if it's not, say no. But there are a lot of people who feel like if they say no, then the other person would think of them as being mean or selfish. No, you have your right to not do it. If you see that it's going to inconvenience you unnecessarily. And if that person loves you, they will understand. And it's so interesting because when I've gone overseas and I've brought things back for my family, they have never once, maybe only one time, someone from my family has asked me to bring down something. But 99% of the time, they don't even ask. But yet they always get. And then for me, whenever someone goes overseas with a close friends or family, I never once ask them to bring down anything for me. Never once. But I always get. And guess what? Even if they don't, I'm literally the type of person, I don't expect you to bring anything for me when you go overseas. I don't. I don't know, maybe. And it's not like you're wrong if you want someone to bring something for you, but I just Don't have that expectation. If you bring something, great. If you don't, great. So that's an example for you, which I know a lot of Jamaicans can relate to, because you go overseas and you'll have he, she, and their mother and father and grandmother and grandfather. Why you bring down something for them? Why you go yasso? Bring that there, bring that here. And when you look, you are spinning around like a headless chicken. When you went there, whether on vacation to celebrate something or for business purposes, and you are now finding yourself at a disadvantage because you can't say no, because you're a people pleaser. We're doing away with that today. Let's now go into some of the main reasons why people fall into the trap of people pleasing. The first one is wanting to be accepted. As humans, naturally, we want to be accepted. When we are born into this world, we're born into a family, then we go to school and church for a lot of us, the workplace, always in these sectors and groups. And so we naturally desire acceptance. That is perfectly fine. And most of us, we will have our groups and our spaces where we are accepted. But that is also one of the things that gets people tripped up and falling into the trap of being a people pleaser, because you want to be in their crowd and you want to appeal to them. We're going to talk about how you can overcome that in a bit. So, reason one, wanting to be accepted. Reason two, being afraid or fearful of people. You see, I'm not just a lizard, a spider alone, people afraid of. A lot of people fear the opinions and the backlash of other people. Okay? So, fear and wanting to be accepted. So, now let's talk about how you can overcome being a people pleaser by using those two main reasons to kind of piggyback off of them. So, how you can overcome people pleasing. First, you need to accept yourself. You need to understand that whether or not people accept you, you are valuable. And if you guys have listened to me long enough, you're going to hear me preach and teach about knowing your worth, because it is the beginning of freedom. But I digress. Now, when you know your value, whether or not someone else identifies that value, is neither here nor there to you, because no one's acceptance can add or take away from your worth. Your worth is your worth. Can't change, can't go away. And so, if someone doesn't want you to be a part of something, when you actually love yourself, to be excluded sometimes feels like a joy. Sometimes you didn't even want to go in the first place. Because what I find with people who really love themselves, we tend to enjoy solitude and our own company. We are able to function by ourselves. It's almost like that's where we thrive the most. And so you will love to go out with friends and family and enjoy that time. But if someone doesn't want to invite you somewhere, it's like, okay. It doesn't hurt your core, because your core is solid, because you know that your value is not taken away just because they don't include you, because that's not how value works. The second way you can overcome being a people pleaser is by taking human beings off the pedestal in your heart and mind. You have to understand that No human being is the source of anything. God is the source. We are receivers and transmitters. Anything someone has that they're dangling over your head like a carrot, God can give you that times 10. So when you stop looking at people as Lord over your life and the authority, and as if they have the final say, you give them less power to manipulate you into being a people pleaser. And you build up your self esteem to a level where you do not devalue yourself and fall into the trap of people pleasing. I mean, we receive, if we are receiving from the light, which is God, we transmit light. If we're receiving from darkness, which you know, the enemy, then we transmit that. But we aren't the source of anything. And so when you stop worshiping people, because when you fear people, it's because you falsely believe that you can't do without them, or they're going to do something to you because you don't fall in line. And while you might be right to feel that way because fear is an emotional response, just because you have a feeling doesn't make it fact and doesn't make it valid all the time. Not to say you should overlook it. Your feelings are important, but feelings aren't always factual. And so just because you feel like you can't do without somebody doesn't mean that's true, because it's not. So when you understand these two truths, that you are valuable intrinsically, and when you take people off the pedestal in your life, you are well on your way to jumping out of the pit of people pleasing. Because you can now stand on your 2 feet and you have the right perspective. And I know it sounds simple, but that's really what it is. It's as simple as that. It takes practice if you're not used to it. But it's the truth. And the quicker you understand it, the better for you. So, yep. I ain't got nothing else to say. Let that sink in. Share this episode with someone who you know needs it. Share this with another people pleaser. And watch your life and their life transform. That's it for this episode. Again, my name is Brianna, and we will talk more soon.